Coach said you were kind of one of the first people he thought of and reached out to when this happened. Just curious, as much as you can, the process on your end for ended up coming here as OC.
Yeah, Coach Satterfield and myself worked together at the University of Toledo 2009, and at that time I was his graduate assistant, and we'd always stayed in touch, and I think originally for him he gave me a call, and I think he always known what I have thought about the state of Ohio, being from here, and I think he kind of felt like it was a really good fit in terms of not only what I've done offensively in terms of familiarity with his structure and his scheme, and just from a location and region kind of thing. I think he wanted me to come along and join him here, and add another member of the staff that's certainly familiar with what it is to recruit this state and how important football is, not only in this state but more importantly in Cincinnati. I think for me it was a really good opportunity just to be around an incredible human being, and the people that he has surrounded himself with over his career and that are on this football staff are A people, and so yeah, it always happens quick. That's what it is in this profession, but certainly for me it was very exciting phone call, and I had the opportunity to kind of come up here and take a look a little bit and sit down and talk to him about expectations and what really is this, and I went home and said, man, this is absolutely something that myself and my family would love to do.
He mentioned you guys are going to hit some of the local high schools here, and then with what you know of Ohio, I mean, anyone that knows Mountain Union, you guys don't lose much. Your knowledge of the state, how helpful is that going to be just locally and further north?
Well, certainly, it's huge, and I think obviously Coach Coombs has done a tremendous job, and the previous staffs have done a tremendous job of recruiting this state, because they certainly understand the football that's played in this state. The coaching at the high school level in this state is elite, especially as you branch out in your career and you go to other places and you go to other regions in the country, and there's great high school football coaching in some areas, and some areas there's not, and it means a little bit more some places, and I'm extremely happy and excited to be part of a place that the high school football is really important. It's done the correct way, and where the high school football coach is still a meaningful person in the young people's lives, and I think as you go throughout this state, that has always been the case. Obviously, familiarity in the state is a huge thing. I have recruited Northeast Ohio traditionally for many years, and having spent time in Toledo, really for a long time, I've had the chance to kind of be a little bit all over. So I'm excited with some of the relationships that I currently have with guys. See some of those guys a little bit more frequently than maybe I've been able to in the last few years. A lot of those guys have reached out, and it's really exciting to kind of be back and be around them a little bit more. So I think certainly it's a big deal, and I know how important this state is to the lifeblood of our football program. So we have to do a tremendous job, not only in a 6-hour radius, but I think more importantly in the state of Ohio. I think it's a huge deal.
You know what it takes to win on the Big 12 level. How far off is this offense from being able to compete in the Big 12?
I'll be honest with you, I think that's a really hard question to answer. I wish I knew right now. We have to, obviously, first time I met our guys, honestly, was 2 days ago. And we have to get together, and we have to have the opportunity to work with our guys and put our hands on them and see exactly where we're at. But I think if you look back to the recent history and really the last 20 years, the coaches here have all done a tremendous job. They've recruited at a high level. They've competed at the highest level. So your intuition is that you're not far off. But I think until we really get in there and get our feet in the ground and have the opportunity to work with our players, I don't know if I can honestly answer you that. What I do know is the Big 12 is highly competitive. It's a difficult conference, but it's also a fun conference. And there's a lot of really good football teams, a lot of really good football coaches. So it will certainly be exciting, but we'll kind of be able to figure that out a little bit more as we get together with our guys and get playing a little bit.
Coach Satterfield said that besides your recruiting in Ohio, as well as your time in the Big 12, one of the things that stood out about you as a candidate was your time in the NFL and the schemes that you were able to learn from the Colts. What is the biggest thing you learned from the NFL that you plan to institute here?
I think number one, before anything else from a schematic and anything, is that you still win with people at all levels. I was fortunate enough to be with an organization that had tremendous people. So I think that's really an invigorating thing to know and understand as a young football coach, that it still really matters about the people in your building, whether it's coaches, support staff, players. That's a critical piece to any football program. But I think there I really helped, or really learned and grew probably in the understanding of the importance of fundamentals and techniques, how to become a better teacher, how to help the high-end player get better, maybe get to where he needs to go, but also learning the ins and outs of development of younger football players in your program. So, I think certainly there's a lot of football that you're exposed to at that level from an X and O standpoint, but I think it was really eye-opening to me to learn some of the things that you probably, you pay attention to at the high school level as well. And I think that growth process for me was really instrumental in understanding that there's a lot of different ways to teach things, there's a lot of different ways to do things, and when it comes down to it, it's really about the people and how you do things that is going to give you a chance to be most effective based upon your personnel.
What is something that you look at the high school level, college level, the NFL level that you think all needs the same attention?
Yeah, fundamentals and techniques. Philosophy that is number one, paramount. Football without fundamentals, it still comes down to blocking and tackling, right? But I'd say, and I learned this at Mount Union under Coach Karras, he's always had a saying from an offensive perspective that it comes down to players, formations, and plays. And I think that is humongous when you look at a high school coach. And one of the things that I've learned the most from high school coaches is they don't pick their players. And you have to find out what your players are, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, which ultimately determines and dictates what formations you get into, and then lastly decides what plays you are. So I think that is something that happens every single day at the high school football level, and that's why I've always had such great esteem for high school football coaching, and some of the best football coaches I've ever met coach high school football. And I think that is something that you carry over into the world of college football now. Obviously, it exists into the National Football League, where if not, there wouldn't be star players that are getting the football all the time, right? So they're always trying to find the best matchup and the best way to take advantage of a defense. And I think as you look in college football and how there's the evolution of what's going on in the recruiting world, and how rosters have changed dramatically from year to year, I think that there's a precedent right now on are you utilizing your personnel to your best advantage? Are you putting them in the best situations? And so I think it makes you take an approach and step back of, there's things that you may have always done schematically. There's may have a style that you've always run, but you have to be willing to tweak and change and adapt based upon the players that you currently have, and also your vision for where you want to go. And lastly, you have to have the vision of being able to find ways to move the ball against the schematics of the defenses that you'll play in this conference. So, I think that's a big part of understanding the holistic approach to what we're talking about on offensive football.
You talked about the expectations that Coach Satterfield might have mentioned when he was talking to you and what he wants to build here. What was that? What was his pitch for why this was a good fit for you and what he wants to do moving forward?
We didn't have to really sell me much, but Coach Satterfield it's always about people, and I think when he got here, it's always going to be about surrounding himself around good people, and he was raving about the people that he had already encountered here, here in Cincinnati, and just how comfortable he felt here, and how open everybody was when he got here. And I told him, hey, that's Ohio, man. That's how it goes, But I think it's so for him. I think being able to carry out his vision of being a player-driven football program, and being around football coaches and people every day that he enjoys and that he believes are really good people, that's kind of how he is, and he's as authentic as as anybody I've ever met. So for me, there wasn't much selling going on. You know, it's just an opportunity to get back around him, and obviously I'm from here. My wife's from Newark, outside Columbus. So, you know, we've been away for a little while. So it's been very exciting just to get back to the state.
You're going to coach tight ends here. You lost a couple that are probably NFL draft picks. What have you seen of Shaman and Singletary? And I think maybe you got one today. Lately, there's been pretty good tight ends here. I mean,
there's been very good tight ends here, and I think we hope to continue that. You know, obviously there's probably in the last 2 years, and this is just guessing from watching, you know, a little bit from afar. Probably have lost a ton of production, you know, in the last 2 years in terms of tight end play. So, you know, again, I think we have to do a great job of finding out exactly who we have, exactly what they're good at, and then see if there's any, you know, areas that we need to address to move forward. But, you know, the most important thing is tight end football. It comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes, and what you can do with tight ends changes a lot depending on each individual guy's skill set. And, you know, it's a very unique position in my opinion. A lot of people can play tight end. A lot of people can't play tight end, but I think, you know, we have to do a great job of finding not only what do some of the measurables that they have, where does that kind of put those guys, and do we have the ability to be very multiple with them? Do we have to shrink that package? So I think tight end in general is a position that you really have to get your hands on those guys to be able to determine exactly how you see them and what you can do to take advantage of a defense. So obviously, you know, Shaman played a little bit, and, you know, I know some of these guys have, and I'll be totally honest with you, I don't even exactly know who has done what, and I kind of don't want to. I want to be able to, you know, get into spring football and make our own evaluation. So, you know, we'll move forward and try to figure out what our strengths are and what our weaknesses are, and then address them appropriately.
You talked about being able to adjust and having to adjust based on your personnel, but I guess in the past, how would you describe your offensive philosophy, and how does that maybe compare and mesh with Coach Satz?
Yeah, I would steal Coach Karras's phrase, and players formation plays. We've been in offenses in the past that have been 10 personnel, you know, tempo. I've been in, Coach, we had some really good tight ends. We played a lot of football games in 12 personnel and 13 personnel, and have played a mix of, you know, multiple formations, a lot of motions, a lot of shifts, trades. Sometimes we've huddled, sometimes we haven't. So it's a really bad answer to a good question. But, you know, I think certainly we want to play a brand of football that we feel gives us the best opportunity to win. And I just don't think it's fair to say this is the system and this is what we run. We want to take great pride in the effort to find out what is the best thing to win a football game week to week. What is the best chance to give us to win a football game, multiple football games across the year, and then how do you sustain that for a long period of time within a conference and within a football program. So we'll find out exactly who we have and what we have to do. But, you know, I know we want to run the football. You know, we want to have the opportunity to spread the field horizontally and vertically, but that's about as general as you could be. You know, I understand that. So once we get in there, I'll be able to, at some point, I'll be able to answer you a little bit better what we see that approach being.
Your Iowa State offense has put up huge numbers. Past season wasn't the best, but I looked at it and I think you had 6 or 7 single-digit losses, games over, you know, ball changes one way or the other. You're in a bowl game or something. Is that just welcome to the Big 12?
Yeah, the Big 12 is a challenging conference, and you know, there's been years where we've been extremely effective, and last year, you know, there was a lot of heartbreakers there that you know, certainly you don't forget, and you hope to take lessons and move forward from them. But I think that is what is exciting about the Big 12 in general. When you look at the conference, the parity you know, it's incredible. I mean, you feel like every week that, number one, you have a shot. And it seems like every week when you look across the conference, somebody's beating somebody that was a little bit of a shocker. You know, there's a lot of really awesome environments to play in. They're really challenging environments to play in. So it's what you want college football to be in terms of action, and But it's a challenging deal, and it certainly will be fun.
What's your-
Justin and then Marshall.
Were you booth or on the field?
I've been in the press box for a long time. I think I've only been on the field maybe 2 or 3 years in my career, but wherever they want me is where I'll be.
Big 12 obviously new to this roster and the fan base. And you brought up the environments. What's the one you think that players and fans will be most looking forward to?
When we're here or
On the road.
on the road, oh man, there's a lot. We were actually talking over dinner the other night. I think that is what is cool about this conference is there's not a place that there's obviously there's new teams that I haven't been to yet, but there's not a place that isn't pretty cool game day, pretty remarkable game day. You could really go up and down the list, and they're all exciting. They're all really loud. And all the fan bases, there's a lot of cool traditions and those kind of things, which obviously we don't see as much, but you hear about. But there's that'd be a really hard one to label because there's a lot. I mean, I think every place that you play can be a difficult place to play, and so it'll certainly be fun. But I also feel like, man, I haven't been to a game here. But when you watch on TV, it looks pretty awesome. And when you look out there in Nippert every day, you can imagine, some of the opponents that will be in here, and you can just get a kind of an idea of how crazy this place will be too. So I think we're certainly adding somebody to the conference that will be really a fun place to play.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you guys.